Good morning. Welcome to Time in His Word. When I was in boot camp for Air Force, we had a guy that had trouble with his left and right. And he was a squad leader, so he was at the front of the line. And drill instructor would say, right face, and he'd turn left, or they'd say left face, and he'd turn right, and he's constantly getting yelled at. Well, they had him pick up a pebble and put it in his pocket. It didn't matter which pocket. And they told him that if they asked him which pocket he put it in, he told me he put it in his left pocket. So they said, all right. So if we say turn right, you turn opposite of that pebble. He still, every now and then they'd say turn right, he'd turn left. He'd still mess up every now and then. There's stories like that from boot camp that I remember, for no other reason than the humor in it. It wasn't funny then because they was screaming and yelling, which is all part of the game. But now that I look back, it was funny. And all it was we were just scared. I mean, they screamed constantly and had you on your toes. And the day guy would tell you one thing, and the night guy would come in and tell you the opposite. And it's just all part of getting you to be able to think under stress and that. It's not as severe as the other branches, but it's still the same concept, to learn to do things as a team, and to when a lot of noise and commotion's going on, to be able to think straight. And it got me to thinking about Paul in the 12th chapter, the 2 Corinthians in the 12th chapter, verses 7 on down through 10. He's talking about a thorn that he has in his side, that he asked God to remove 3 times from him. And he said, the thorn in my flesh, a message of Satan to torment me and keep me from exalting myself. We've all had that where, we got a pebble in our shoe, or we just don't quite feel good for the day, and it affects how we perform for the day. That little bit of annoyance keeps us from being at our best for the day. It's like last night I parked, and there was a refrigerated trailer. We call them reefers. There was a reefer next to me, and he wasn't running, and then he left, and another one backed in his spot, and it's an older one that doesn't have a really good muffler on it, and he must have it on continuous, because I felt this thing run all night. Just a slow vibration, which affected my sleep. So I can kind of get an idea of what Paul's talking about. You just press on when the little things are against you, like a pebble in your shoe. You can stop and take the pebble out, but you still that, or you just don't quite feel good for the day. But later on in verse 10, Paul says, I'm going to read verse 9 and 10. And he has said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for power is perfected in weakness. Most gladly, therefore, I will rather boast about my weakness, so that the power of Christ may dwell in me. Therefore, I am well content with weakness, with insults, with distress, with persecutions, with difficulties for Christ's sake. For when I am weak, then I am strong. And I kind of get the understanding there, because if something is, a pebble in your shoe, or you just don't feel good, you have to try that much harder to overcome that little bitty of annoyance. And in the end, it makes you a stronger person, because at some point in time, you're not going to pay attention to that little annoyance. You're going to work on through the pain. And they teach us that in the military. They'll take you to a certain point where you just can't think you can go on anymore, and then they push you a little bit more to show you that you can overcome those pains and illness, those pains and and being tired in that, and you can press on and still achieve the goal. And to me, that's what Paul is saying right here. Even though he's got a pain in his side, and he's asked God to remove it, and God won't remove it from him, he leaves it there. He presses on, and he understands that little bit of pain, that little bit of annoyance that makes us weak at that moment, it also builds us up and makes us stronger in the long run. So we've all got something that's a little bit of an ailment to us each and every day. Might be just getting older and our bones creak and make new noises when we stand up. And you kind of go, ooh, never heard that one before. It kind of puzzles you. But in the end, all those little annoyances help you become a stronger person. And it's the same in our walk in Christ. The little bitty annoyances that we got to deal with each and every day, if you think about it, when we overcome them, we're a little bit stronger than we were when we were focusing on the little annoyances rather than focusing on God. So today, instead of focusing on what little ailment you have, why not focus more on God and see what the outcome is at the end of the day?